Have you ever felt like you're running a marathon for someone who won't even walk a mile for you? It's that quiet, sinking feeling you get late at night when you're the one who remembered their important meeting, picked up their favorite snack just because, and spent an hour listening to their bad day, only to realize no one is asking about yours. It's the silent resentment that builds, not from a big fight, but from 1,000 tiny moments of imbalance. You're the one texting first, planning the dates, apologizing for things that weren't your fault, and emotionally managing the entire relationship. And the most confusing part of it all, the central paradox we need to unravel, is why this pattern so often happens to the most caring, empathetic, and emotionally intelligent people. You would think that those who understand human connection, the best would be the first to demand reciprocity. But often, they are the ones who find themselves in relationships where they give everything and receive almost nothing in return, as if they are drawn to the emotional void, believing they are the one person who can finally fill it. This isn't an accident. It's a deep-seated psychological pattern, and it doesn't just show up in one way. It wears different masks, different costumes, but the core story is always the same. My value is determined by how much I can give. Let's look at a few of these roles. See if you recognize yourself, or someone you love, in one of them. First, there's the most common and perhaps the most draining role, the caretaker. This is the person who feels a magnetic pull toward people they perceive as broken, lost, or in need of saving. Their love language isn't just affection, it's project management. They are instinctively drawn to partners who need fixing, who are struggling with their career, their emotions, or their past. The caretaker believes deep down that their value comes from being indispensable. Their inner monologue sounds like, "They need me. Without me, they wouldn't be able to cope." So, they become a human safety net, constantly managing their partner's schedule, reminding them of appointments, soothing their anxieties, and cleaning up their emotional or literal messes. They become the therapist, the parent, the manager, and the cheerleader, all rolled into one. There's no room left for them to be just a partner. And here's the thing. This isn't selfless. It's a survival strategy. By focusing all their energy on fixing someone else's chaos, the caretaker never has to confront the quiet emptiness or unresolved issues within themselves. Being needed is a powerful distraction from feeling unwanted. It gives them a clear purpose, a defined role. The tragedy is that if their partner ever actually gets better, the caretaker often feels lost. Their primary function in the relationship suddenly gone. They've spent so long being the crutch, they've forgotten how to just walk alongside someone as an equal. But there's another type, one who operates from a place of fear rather than a need for purpose. This is the peacekeeper. The peacekeeper doesn't necessarily seek out broken partners. Instead, they work tirelessly to sand down their own edges, to become as smooth and frictionless as possible. Their greatest fear is conflict, disapproval, or rocking the boat in any way. They have learned a dangerous lesson somewhere along the way, that their needs, opinions, and desires are a burden to others. They believe that being easy or low maintenance is the only way to be loved. So they become a chameleon, effortlessly blending into their partner's world. They will always agree to the restaurant their partner wants, even if they hate the food. They'll watch the movie their partner chooses, sitting in silence while their own favorite genres are ignored. They will swallow their hurt feelings, dismiss their own anger as an overreaction, and accommodate every request, no matter how inconvenient. Their personal motto is, "It's fine, I don't mind." But they do mind. Every time they say, "It's fine," a tiny piece of their identity is erased. This isn't about compromise. Compromise is a two-way street where both people bend. This is self-abandonment. The peacekeeper sacrifices their own authenticity on the altar of harmony, terrified that if they were to express a genuine need or a dissenting opinion, the person they love would leave. They don't understand that real connection is forged in the fires of disagreement and honest conversation, not in the sterile silence of forced agreement. Over time, they become a ghost in their own life, their own relationship, wondering why they feel so profoundly lonely while sitting right next to the person they love. Now here's where it gets even more complex. The third type isn't trying to fix or to placate. They are trying to impress. This is the prover. The prover operates from a core belief that they are not inherently enough. They feel a constant, nagging insecurity that, left to their own devices, they are unlovable. So, they compensate. They turn love into a performance, a grand production designed to prove their worth. Their efforts are not small and quiet. They are loud, visible, and often expensive in terms of time, energy, and money. This is the person who plans an elaborate, month-long surprise for their partner's birthday, complete with a guest list of 50 people, a catered dinner, and a custom-made gift for a partner who forgot to even text them on their last birthday. This is the person who will drop everything to drive 3 hours in the middle of the night to help with a minor crisis, not because it's necessary, but to demonstrate the sheer scale of their devotion. They buy extravagant gifts, write long, poetic letters, and constantly perform acts of service that are far out of proportion to what they receive. Each gesture is a plea. Do you see me now? Do you see how much I'm worth? Am I finally enough for you? But the validation they seek is a bottomless pit. Because it's external, it never truly sticks. No matter how much their partner appreciates the gesture, the underlying feeling of inadequacy remains, and so the prover must immediately start planning their next performance. They are caught in a heartbreaking cycle. They feel unworthy, so they overgive to prove their value. But because the giving comes from a place of deficit, it feels desperate and transactional, which ultimately fails to build the genuine, reciprocal connection they crave, reinforcing their original fear that they just aren't enough on their own. Each of these types, the caretaker, the peacekeeper, the prover, is trying to solve an internal problem with an external solution. They are pouring their own life force into another person's cup, hoping that somehow it will quench their own thirst. But a relationship built on this kind of imbalance can never truly hydrate either person. It only ensures that one person remains perpetually thirsty, while the other learns that they never have to find their own water source. The invisible labor of love they perform day in and day out is not just tiring, it's a slow erosion of the self. And understanding where this pattern comes from is the first step toward finally putting the watering can down and learning to nourish yourself first. So, where does this impulse to constantly pour ourselves out for others actually come from? It's rarely a conscious choice. It's a script we learned so long ago, we've forgotten we're even reading from it. For most overgivers, the pattern began in childhood, in a home where their emotional needs were, in some way, neglected or invalidated. Love was not a free and stable resource. It was conditional. It had to be earned. The child who becomes the caretaker often grew up as a parentified child. They had to become the emotional grown-up for a parent who was struggling, absent, or emotionally immature. They learned that their value, their very safety, depended on their ability to manage an adult's feelings, to be responsible, to anticipate needs, and to solve problems. Love, for them, became synonymous with being useful. So, as an adult, a calm, stable, and self-sufficient partner feels unfamiliar, almost boring. Their nervous system is wired to seek out the chaos they know how to manage, because managing it is how they learned to feel loved. The child who becomes the peacekeeper often grew up in a high-conflict environment, a home filled with shouting, unpredictable anger, or the icy tension of silent treatment. In that environment, the child learns that being seen or heard is dangerous. Having needs, expressing opinions, or taking up space only adds fuel to the fire. Survival means becoming invisible, agreeable, and small. They learned to walk on eggshells so skillfully that it became their natural way of moving through the world. As an adult, they are terrified of conflict, not because they can't handle a simple disagreement, but because on a deep, subconscious level, it signals the withdrawal of love and safety they experienced as a child. Saying no feels like risking abandonment. And the child who becomes the prover? They often grew up in a home where love was tied to achievement. They weren't praised for who they were, but for what they did. The A+ on the report card, the winning goal in the game, the flawless piano recital. Affection was a reward for performance. This teaches a devastating lesson. Your inherent self is not enough. You must constantly achieve, impress, and demonstrate your worth through tangible evidence. As an adult, this translates into a relentless need to prove their value in relationships through grand gestures. They don't know how to simply be loved. They only know how to earn love through a never-ending series of impressive acts. They are still that child, holding up a trophy and asking, "Am I good enough now?" Herein lies the most uncomfortable truth for every overgiver. Your identity has become completely entangled with your utility. Your sense of self-worth isn't an internal, stable core. It's an external, fluctuating stock price based on how much you do for others, how much you are needed, or how much you are approved of. This creates a constant, low-grade terror that if you stop giving, if you stop performing, if you stop being useful, you will be abandoned. The fear isn't just that the relationship will end, it's that your entire reason for being will dissolve along with it. If you're not the caretaker, the peacekeeper, or the prover, then who are you? The silence in response to that question is what keeps the cycle going. You keep giving not just out of love, but out of a deep-seated fear of your own perceived emptiness. So, the path to building healthier, more reciprocal relationships doesn't start with finding a different person. It starts with reclaiming yourself. It begins with the painful but necessary act of recognizing this pattern not as love, but as self-abandonment. Every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you fix a problem that isn't yours to solve, every time you perform a grand gesture to quiet your own insecurity, you are abandoning your own needs in favor of managing someone else's perception of you. The first step toward change is learning to set boundaries. And please hear this. Boundaries are not walls you build to keep people out. They are fences you build to protect the garden of your own well-being. A boundary can be as simple as saying, "I've had a really long day. I don't have the emotional energy to talk about this tonight." It can be saying, "No, that doesn't work for me," without offering a long list of excuses. It can be letting someone experience the natural consequences of their own choices instead of swooping in to save them. At first, this will feel selfish and terrifying. You will be convinced that people will leave. And some might. The people who only valued you for your utility will drift away. And that is a painful but necessary filtration process. Because the people who are meant to be in your life will respect your boundaries. They will be relieved to finally meet the real you, not the role you've been playing. They will want to connect with you as an equal, not as a project, an audience, or an endless source of support. Genuine connection is built on mutual give and take, not a one-sided performance. It's the quiet comfort of knowing someone loves you for who you are when you're not doing anything for them at all. It's the feeling of being chosen, not just needed. So, as we close, I want you to ask yourself honestly, looking back at these roles, at the caretaker, the peacekeeper, and the prover, which one are you? And what need from your past, what echo from your childhood, is it trying to fulfill for you today? Understanding that is the key to finally breaking free. If these ideas resonated with you and you'd like to explore more about the psychology of building healthier relationships, I'd really appreciate it if you hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell. It helps more than you know.